Hey fifth graders, it's Mrs. Tremblay, and we are going to do some notes right now, and afterwards I'm going to have you do your whiteboard, like a little bit of whiteboard practice. So if you could please get your Unit 4 math packet, open it up to the page that says Lesson 7, multiplying by multiples of 10 with multi-digits. And after we complete the notes on this page here, then I'm going to have you use your whiteboards, or you could use scrap paper if you don't have a whiteboard with you, that's fine. So those are all the materials that you're going to need, and something to write with, of course. All right, just a reminder that everything I write, I want you to write also. So your package should match mine. I don't mind if, as we're working, you pause and try a problem on your own, but please always make sure to go and double check your work to make sure you did it right. Okay, so this is multiplying by multiples of 10, which you've done before, but we're going to be dealing with multi-digits and kind of piggyback off of what we did yesterday. So here I have 14 times 20, okay? Now, if I put 9 times 20, I know that you would do the 9 times the 2, right? And then you put in that 0, because when you multiply by 20, it's the same thing as multiplying first by 2 and then multiplying by 10, right? 20 is the same as 2 times 10. So the reason that you're able to just multiply those other 2 digits and put the 0 is because that's what happens when we multiply by tens, right? That's the pattern that we see. Every time you have a 10, that puts a 0 at the end of whatever you have, because you're shifting those digits over to the left. So anyhow, my point with this is we now have 14 times 20, and you might not know off the top of your head what 14 times 2 is, because we learned you can just multiply the non-zero digits, and we can plug that 0 in afterwards, multiply by 10 at the end. So yesterday, you learned how to solve something like 14 times 2 using the standard algorithm, right? So you can actually go ahead and say, okay, well, 14 times 2, I'm not sure what that is, so I'm going to solve it out like this. And you learned yesterday that, okay, I can multiply my ones place. 2 times 4 is 8. And then I need to multiply that 2 by the tens place, and 2 times 1 is 2. So if I know now that 14 times 2 is 28, that would mean that 14 times 20 is 280, okay? So a lot of times what you'll see happen is people will write it vertically like this, and instead of trying to figure out, well, what do I do with this 0? Oh, this is the same thing as 14 times 2. And I know that 0 is going to go at the end. So if you see it written like this, most people will just take that 0 and put it in the ones place, because we know it's going to be there. And then do 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2 to get that 280. So either one of these is fine by me. All right, so take a look at the next one. This is 38 times 40. Right now I recognize this as a multiple of 10. And when I see a multiple of 10, I know I can multiply those non-zero digits together and put the 0 in afterwards, because, not because it's magic, but because when you multiply by 10, that's what happens. All the digits shift to the left, and you get that 0 in the ones place. So I'm going to go ahead and do 38 times 4. Now, I don't know off the top of my head what 38 times 4 is, so I can set it up like this, like we did yesterday. And I'm going to multiply my ones place. 4 times 8 is 32, and now I can't fit 32. I can only write down one of those digits, right? So I'm going to write 32. There's my 32. And now I can do my 4 times the tens place. 4 times 3 is 12. And remember that we saw, like when we added the areas together with our area model, oh, I'm supposed to add that 3 now. So 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15. Now, sometimes a common error I'll see is people will say, okay, there's my answer, 152. But it's not 152, because 38 times 4 is 152. 38 times 40 is 1,520. So don't forget to put the 0 in after you finish your multiplication, okay? And again, the reason this works, this is the same as saying 38 times 4 times 10. And we learned that, okay, when you multiply 3 numbers, I just start with any 2 that I want. And we did the 38 times 4 first, which is 152. Then you go ahead and multiply by that 10. And you know that if I take 152 times 10, I can multiply 152 by the 1 and put that 0. because this shifts all the digits one place to the left. Okay, next one, 70 times 12. I switched up the order for you on purpose, but this is the multiple of 10, right? So what I want to do is I want to do 7 times 12, right? And then we'll do that multiplying by 10 at the end. So I'm going to rewrite this as 12 times 7. And this is like what we did yesterday. I know that there's more than one way to do it, but I do want to practice with the standard algorithm. It will make people at home so much happier too, I know. So 7 times 2, that is 14. So I'm going to have to carry my 1. So there's my 14. Now I'm done with this 2. Now I need to take 7 times 1. 7 times 1 is 7, and we have to add whatever's being carried. So 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8, and we get 84. And now you cannot forget, 12 times 7 is 84. That means 12 times 70 is 840. All right, next one, I have 30 times 81. So here's my multiple of 10. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solve 81 times 3. 81 times 3. 3 times 1 is 3. And 3 times 8 is 24. And if 81 times 3 is 243, that means that 81 times 30, I would shift all these over to the left, would be 2,430. So 2,430 is what you should have. Okay, now for letter E, I wrote this vertically because you'll see it either way. I always try to write the problems all the different ways you'll see them. I have 43 times 70. Now, in these other ones, I just rewrote it, 12 times 7, and put the 0 in after. If you see it set up like this, okay, I know that I want to do 43 times 7 and then put in my 0 at the end, right? So usually when I see it set up like this, I just put my 0 right off the bat in the ones place because I know it's going to be there. And then I just kind of ignore it when I'm solving that, right? Because we want to do 43 times 7 and then multiply that by 10. So now I have my 0 there already. Now I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, 7 times 3 is 21. And 7 times 4 is 28, plus 2 is 30. So I'd have 3,010 for my answer. If you're like, oh, I don't like that, I would rather just rewrite this as 43 times 7. And 7 times 3 is 21. And 7 times 4 is 28, plus 2 is 30. And now I'm going to put my 0 in. Either one is fine. Either one will work, okay? All right, so let's circle my answer. Oops, I didn't do a very good job, but at least you can see it clearly there. All right, for letter F, now I have 3 digits, 542 times 20. So because this is a multiple of 10, I know that I can just do 542 times 2 and put my 0 in after. So I'm just going to put my 0 first, and now I'm going to solve it the same way I would. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. There's my comma. And if this is too busy for you, if it's like, oh, this is really messing me up because this 2 is over in the tens place, then just rewrite it as 542 times 2. And 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. And 2 times 5 is 10. But don't forget the 0. All right. 707 times 50. Maybe you want to pause me at this point and try it on your own. That would be fine. And if you're not ready yet, don't worry about it. All right. Or if you're too far from the pause button, it's okay. I have 707 times 50. So I know that I can do 707 times 5. This is a multiple of 10. So I'm just going to put my 0 now. And then I'm going to ignore it as I solve through and multiply the 5 by the ones place. 7 times 5 is 35. So I'm going to write down my 5 and carry my 3 to the next place over. 5 times 0 is 0. And 0 plus 3 is 3. Nothing to carry. And now I have to multiply 5 by the hundreds place. 5 times 7 is 35. And I can write down the whole thing because there aren't any digits left to carry anything over. So 35,350. And again, if you wrote it as 707 times 5 and put your 0 in at the end, that is totally fine. All right, next, 88 times 80. I see I'm multiplying by a multiple of 10, so I want to do the 88 times 8. And then I know it's a multiple of 10, so I can put that 0 in the ones place. I'm going to go ahead and put the 0 in the ones place now and multiply 8 by the ones place. 8 times 8 is 64. So I'm going to write the 4, carry the 6 to the next place over. 8 times 8, that's 64 again. And 64 plus 6 is 70. Nothing left to carry. So 7,040. And if you wanted to write 88 times 8, you'd end up getting 704, and then you just have to remember, oh yeah, I have to put that 0 in afterwards. Either one is fine. All right, 2 left, and then we'll do a little whiteboard practice. 32 times 40. All right, so I know I need to do the 32 times 4, so I'm going to go ahead and do 32 times 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. And don't forget to put that 0. So 1,280. And if you did just write this as 32 times 40, I always put the multiple of 10 on the bottom. Then you could have just dropped that 0, and 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times 3 is 12. So it's the same exact thing. I don't care which one you do. Letter J, 50 times 915. Here's my multiple of 10. I know I'm going to do 5 times 915, and then I'm going to multiply by 10 at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and write this as 915 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7, nothing to carry. And 5 times 9 is 45. This isn't my answer, though. 915 times 5 is 4,575. But 915 times 50 means I have to multiply this by 10, which means I have to shift everything over to the left. So I need to put that 0 in the ones place. So 45,750 is what you should have. Okay, so you're done with your notes for today, but I want you to keep going. Get your whiteboard ready. We're going to do just 4 little problems here just to make sure you're all set before you work on your assignment with this. So go ahead and put your notes off to the side, and I'm going to give you 4 problems to try just to make sure you're on the right track. And if you need to pause me and go get your stuff, then go ahead. But here's the first problem I want you to solve. I want you to solve 82 times 70. So solve it, press pause while you're working, and then press play to check it. All right, here we go. I see this as a multiple of 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 0 and put it in the ones place, and then I'm going to multiply 82 times 7. When I multiply 82 times 7, I know I have to take this 7 and multiply it by the ones place. So 7 times 2 is 14. And then I need to multiply this 7 by the tens place. 7 times 8 is 56, and 56 plus that 1 is 57. So 5,740 is what you should have. And again, if you just looked at this and rewrote it as 82 times 7 and put your 0 in after, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter. Okay, for number 2, I want you to solve 59 times 60. 59 times 60, press pause, solve it, press play when you're done. All right, so this is a multiple of 10, so really what I want to do is 59 times 6, and then place my 0 in, because I have to shift all the digits left. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 0 now. And now I'm going to do what we did yesterday, and multiply this 6 by the ones place, and 6 times 9 is 54, so 54. And 6 times 5 is 30. 30 plus 5 is 35. So 3,540 is what you should have. All right, 2 more. Go ahead and erase. And the next problem I want you to solve is 412 times 40. 412 times 40. And if you want to rewrite that vertically, go for it. Press play when you're done. Okay, so in 412 times 40, I would set this up and say, okay, 412 times 40. Now, if you just wrote 412 times 4 and put your 0 in at the end, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and just write the 40 underneath. I always want my multiple of 10 to be on the bottom. And this 0 right here, if I'm going to do 412 times 4 and then times 10, I can just put my 0 there. All right, 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So your answer should be 16,480. All right, erase, and this is your last one. 50 times 805. 50 times 805. Press pause, press play when you are done. Okay, with this one, this 50 is the multiple of 10, so I want that to be on the bottom. So I'm going to do 805 times 50. If you just wrote 805 times 5 and put your 0 in at the end, of course it's okay. I know I feel like I've said that 100 times, but I want you to lock it in. So I'm going to do 805 times 5, and I know that I'm going to have that 0 because I'll multiply by 10 at the end. So now I need to go ahead and go from the right to the left. 5 times 5 is 25. Notice I just multiply it by that, so I carry it right over to the next place. Now, 5 times 0, that's 0, and 0 plus 2 is 2. Nothing to carry. And 5 times 8 is 40, and because there aren't any other digits left, I can go ahead and just write down the 40, put in my comma, and I see the answer is 40,250. All right, so what you're going to do after this, you have a little versatile sheet to do some practicing on these kinds of problems. So good luck with that. Thank you so much for giving me your full attention and getting it done. Great job.